Hello there. So an under-pressure Nicola Sturgeon is basically going into hiding and will be working remotely. The former SNP leader, Nicola Sturgeon, is planning to work remotely this week in order to ensure her successor, Humza Yousaf, is the centre of attention and the focus is on setting out his priorities. Or that's what we're being told. But after watching Nicola during the health emergency daily press briefings, I wonder how she is able to tear herself away from the limelight. But all the kerfuffle swirling about her husband, Peter Murrell, the missing 600 grand, and the unexpected appearance of 110 grand's worth or thereabouts of luxurious campervan at her mother-in-law's house has left its mark. But now we see the leaked video from a 2021 SNP meeting where she claims the SNP finances are all shipshape and wonderful, while at the same time preventing any questioning about them from her own ministers, and even claims that she blocked any scrutiny of the accounts or allowed a fundraising manager to be appointed who would have oversight of the donations. Something the police do seem interested in, it seems. And the Daily Record said, and we can also reveal jewellery purchases are now being probed by police as part of a fraud investigation sparked weeks later by claims of misappropriated donations. Now that should raise some eyebrows. And now her party is eyeing her up for suspension until all of this is properly investigated. But maybe with Sturgeon working remotely, the SNP hierarchy is hoping that out of sight, out of mind will work. Now, do you remember that former SNP leader in Westminster, Blowhard Blackford, who stood up in the Commons every week and always yammering on about Tory sleaze and demanding that Boris resigned? Suddenly, now that the sleaze spotlight is on Nicola Sturgeon, he's saying that she shouldn't even be suspended. Goodness gracious, absolutely not. There's no reason for that at all, he told BBC Radio Scotland, while hinting that it's all just politicking by their opponents. But there will be a lot of people across Scotland and the wider UK right now who think that suspension, or more, is exactly what should happen to her and her husband. And Ian, it wasn't SNP opponents on that video, was it? It was Nicola herself. And what can the Scots taxpayers see in return for supporting the SNP? Hikes in taxes in order to fund a minimum income guarantee for all. With the Scottish Daily Express reporting, under the plans for a minimum income guarantee, a MIG, billions of pounds would be handed to the jobless and lower earners to ensure everyone has a dignified quality of life. Supporters of the proposal, dubbed Communism Light, say it would help fight poverty and tackle health inequalities, and they are clear that it should be funded by massively raising taxes on medium and high earners. Now, to truly work, a system like that would need to be permanent, of course. And it seems the SNP is very eager to get this up and running as quickly as possible. Wonder where the tax money's coming from. You'd think they were trying to deflect attention away from something, wouldn't you? So how would this new system work? Well, I think this is how it would pan out. If you can't work, you get 25 grand a year index linked for life from the taxpayer. If you don't want to work, you get 25 grand a year index linked for life. If you work and earn less than 25 grand a year, it'll get topped up and index linked for life to 25 grand. If you work and earn 25 grand a year, you get nothing. If you earn over 25 grand a year, then you'll get to keep 25 grand of it, and the rest will be leached off of you to pay for all those not earning 25 grand a year. Wonder how many people will bother getting out of bed for that. and the doctor's surgeries will have queues a mile long of people waiting to declare themselves permanently unfit to work. And the numbers of high earners would rapidly diminish, and capital flight into England would become a serious drain on Scotland, as would the flight of the aspirational. And the underground economy would flourish. And when it all inevitably goes baby feeders up, the hopeless SNP will blame it all on Westminster. Now, just a quick little snippet. The government is running a consultation. Yes, another one. On their revised National Air Quality Strategy. The consultation started on the 11th of April, and it ends on the 21st of April. That's right, just 10 days. Have you heard about this consultation? But they're in such a rush and they know what's best, so they possibly think our views don't actually matter. Now, this consultation is about adopting the Draft Air Quality Strategy April 2023. And this strategy applies to England only, and all local authorities in England, including the upper tier and London, must have regard to this new strategy. And the many pollutants of concern are particulate matter of less than 2.5 micrometers across, nitrogen oxides and ammonia. And this, of course, will have a huge impact on transport, high-temperature combustion activity and agriculture, with agriculture producing 87% of the ammonia. So you can see where this is all going, the scaling back of transport, manufacturing and food production. All while the government continues to import as many newcomers as it possibly can. But it's okay. England is going to save the planet all on its own. Unless this is just part of a much wider plan that none of us have seen nor voted for. But the scientific experts all know what's best for us, don't they? Oh, and Rishi Sunak is now under investigation by the parliamentary sleaze watchdog because of allegations that he didn't declare a conflict of interests where his wife's business interest in a childcare agency are concerned. So either Parliament is getting sleazier or it's getting better at digging out potential sleaze. But there does seem to be a lot of it about. But not in Scotland, they tell us. Richard.
As many of you know, I live in the Brecon Beacons, which overnight has had a name change. Yes, that's right, the intergenerationally and internationally known Brecon Beacons will now be known as Banai Brycheiniog, which is an older Welsh name for the Brecon Beacons. Yes, I went to sleep in the Brecon Beacons and woke up in Banai Brycheiniog. Now, even though due to circumstance and much to my shame I do not speak the language of my home in Wales, I fully support the Welsh language, so one would think that I would welcome the change of name. Well, not really, at least not now, and not for the reasons cited for the name change by the national parks. You see, they wanted the word beacons removed from the name Brecon Beacons National Park because it is too much aligned with a burning beacon, which apparently is linked somehow with climate change. Yes, I'm afraid you did hear that correctly. Someone was actually paid to come up with that. The Welsh Government's reaction to the global health emergency since 2020 has devastated many businesses in the national park. So changing the name of the park with little to no consultation of local businesses is a little off, to say the least, wouldn't you? Especially for those businesses that use Brecon Beacons through their branding. However, the woke in the national park have decided in their infant wisdom to remove the word beacons because the word, yes, has too much connotation with burning. I mean, for goodness sake, it's got a tenuous link to fossil fuels at best. And the irony is the new logo still has a beacon torch grate within it, even though it does look like a prison fence, which might be more to the point really, seeing as Places like the Brecon Beacons National Park will be fenced off one day with the 50-minute time zones that are extending across the country. This whole rebranding exercise is nothing more than woke virtue signalling by the liberal left embedded in the Brecon Beacons National Park. And if you want to know about Wales and fossil fuels, well, Wales produced the infrastructure for the entire world using fossil fuels during the Industrial Revolution. And that is our past and our heritage. And the liberal left cannot erase it because it is part of the history of Wales. All the Welsh know it. Unless, of course, they are trying to rewrite history. Anyway, making the national parks with greener, planting 1 million trees and encouraging a more natural wild habitat, encouraging more biodiversity is a wonderful thing. And this is one of the plans of the national park. But that doesn't require a name change for a tourist destination that provides work for most of those, for many of those that live in the Brecon Beacons. You just got to think of the cafes, the pubs, everything. The entire tourism of the Brecon Beacons requires that name, Brecon Beacons. It is the selling point, always has been. Now it's Banau Brycheiniog. That's going to cause a little confusion. This simple name change will mean that companies with the name Brecon Beacons or derivatives thereof now need to rebrand to keep their geographical affiliation tied with the beacons. And that costs money that struggling businesses in the national parks don't have, especially after being forced to shut down for long periods of time in 2020 by the Welsh Government. And have no doubt many of those making these decisions to change the name of the national park were not financially impacted by the government's response to shutting down society and the businesses within the national park. No, this is an expensive political and ideological move with no regard for the businesses in the area. This is dreadful timing, and it makes you wonder why they would push such a massive rebranding of a huge part of Wales and the Welsh economy. Why would they do it now? For goodness sake, this is not about the Welsh language. A lot of people are saying, oh, this is Wales and we have to have the Welsh language back, naming the places of this country. Well, yes, but hang on a second, just a moment. There's businesses, very fragile businesses, a very fragile economy in Wales at the moment that relies on tourism. And this could, in some way, just a slight little deviation from the pre-existing name for the Brecon Beacons, it could have a massive effect on tourism. It really could. Just think of all that rebranding, local businesses have some semblance of stability coming back right now. And that's debatable as well when you think of the cost of living crisis. So what do you think about this move to change the name of the Brecon Beacons National Park to Banau Brycheiniog? Leave your comments in the section below and the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe to our backup sister channel called Missed the News. We keep that as a good backup, and I'm trying to propagate that as much as possible at the moment. Anyway, we will see you again tomorrow at 5:45, 5:45, 5:45.